I know this is painful. Look, we've been here before and we're going to be here again. In this video, I'm going to go over who's been selling, put some perspective on this, and talk about what we can do going forward. All right. Look, if we were able to predict the top, the absolute top, sell that, buy back in at the absolute bottom, the first person to do that would be the richest person in the world, right? It's just difficult. This is investing. This is what comes with Bitcoin. The ability to have these big highs, these multiples have got to come with some drawbacks. And so I'm going to start off by covering who's been selling. Well, in October, we had an all-time high, 126,000 per unit of Bitcoin. Shortly after that, we could see that large OG whales had taken some profits and were doing some legacy planning stuff. Now, more recently, we can see that investors who paid over 110,000, about that level per unit of Bitcoin, have rolled over. People who bought that price and above, short-term holders are selling, and they're going to run out, right? There's only so many of those people who have done that. We're also seeing some of the miners need to sell because the average break even to mine Bitcoin is 86,000 per unit. Now with the price below that, these miners need to sell. Something to note on that point, though, is that in 2028, we're going to have another halving, and the units of Bitcoin rewarded are going to drop down to 1.5625. That's like 225 units per day. It's going to be really insignificant. We think it's pretty insignificant now, but it is what's going on. And then we're also experiencing some correlation with the broader market and even the metals. Everything is kind of coming down. The VIX is spiking. And so we're having some correlation here with the market makers just bringing levels down. So let's look at the 5-year chart of Bitcoin. And we're going to go back to the 2021 bull market here, where there was a sell-off of the same magnitude. So from right up in here, this 58,000-ish level per unit of Bitcoin down to 31.7 around that level was about a 44% pullback, right? It doesn't look that big here as it does over here, but this is the exact same pullback, 44% right in here. This looks larger because the percentage pullback on a bigger number is just a bigger absolute dollar number. This is something we went over in a past newsletter. I'm going to put a link to that just so you can have some perspective, but this is about percentages, right? The percentage that Bitcoin and the multiple it can go up and the percentages that it can pull back. We are at the same pullback here as we were in the 21 bull market. And something to note is from that low, Bitcoin went on to do more than a double. So more than a double from here would put us just under 140,000. So you got to have a bit of perspective and tolerance here for some of the stuff going on and the way the markets are reacting. All right, let's look over here at what's going on in other markets. So if you look at silver's getting absolutely pummeled. It's down 17%. Bitcoin's not down that much today. There was a lot of people that chased metals to get into them. And they were like, oh, this is going up and higher. Even gold's coming down some. Silver was selling off by about 33%, I believe, on Friday. It's really painful in that market over there. So, Bitcoin's not isolated here. It's not the only thing selling off. We can see that through the broader stock market here too, as the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, the Dow Jones are all off, and we are seeing a spike in the VIX. All right. Now, I like looking at the VIX because at these times, all markets tend to be correlated, and the VIX is the fear and greed index really related to the overall stock market. And so if we look at the 1 year here, you can see that we're reaching the top of this band, which means that selling in the stock market may have a little bit more to go, or it's due to turn around. Anything in the upper 20s, 25 to 30 level seems to be where things turn around and start heading in a positive direction, which means the stock market stops selling off and it starts to go back up again. If you're looking at this peak here, this was last year. The 100% tariff announcement recovered, and that was a great buy opportunity. And the same has been with these dips. So here, this is just showing that stock market's getting sold off. It's trickling over into other markets, but it looks like it's due to change soon. And something else that's unique is if we look at the crypto fear and greed index, we're going to look at the crypto fear and greed index here. You can see these reds. This means deeply oversold, extreme fear zones, and where you want to buy, you see a recovery here. See you want to buy, recovery here. See you want to buy, recovery here. So it looks like we're due for a turnaround from things. Let's look at the 10-year chart. As you can see here, Bitcoin, the tops, it's making higher highs. As you look at the lows, if you drew a line through this, it's making higher lows. The 10-year return is 1,780%. In order to get that, you got to stomach some drawbacks. Again, like I said earlier, this pullback over in here was the same percentage as this pullback here. It just looks larger because it's on a bigger number, and we're going to have more of these in the future. All right. And so I know some of you are thinking to sell here, but you just can't, right? Like the probabilities of getting it right, of timing selling, how much lower it's going to go, having a big enough spread in between that and buying back is very difficult. More often what happens is that Bitcoin starts to recover and you have to buy it back higher. And just like we looked at with the VIX, it's starting to get into a very high range, which means things are looking to reverse. The crypto fear and greed index looks like it's at its worst level and due to reverse. It looks like we're starting to run out of these short-term sellers. And so these things all kind of align to things should start looking better pretty soon. And so if you buy back higher, you end up having less units in your account. So that when Bitcoin then makes its new all-time high, right? It goes above 126. Your account has a smaller return now because it has less units. So there's actually something to do that's the opposite of that. And that's getting more units for a lower price. And that's by adding cash to your account and bidding for more units of Bitcoin. That reduces your average price per unit of Bitcoin. And then when Bitcoin, again, goes back into new all-time highs, 130, 140, and even higher, your account's going to grow at a faster rate. So again, I know this is painful. We're here for you. I hope this gives you some perspective and helps you get through the remainder of this tough time. And if you need anything, feel free to reach out to us.